Meat is being cut behind the restaurant on the ground. I want to make sure that's not being served to customers.
No, it's not.
Management said the employee was preparing food for his own consumption.
You used to believe your favorite restaurant was a safe, decent place, where the food came out hot, the staff was friendly, and everything looked as clean as the commercials promised. But in today's America, where agriculture is on the brink, there's a dark truth hiding beneath those white tablecloths. Spoiled meat being recycled sauces boiling at 189 degrees causing severe burns, and sour-smelling salads stirred up and served like they're fresh. They call it attentive service. But for everyday Americans, it's a flat-out insult. You're paying to be deceived, paying to eat industrial garbage, paying to be treated like you don't even matter. This video exposes the 10 worst restaurant chains in America where every dish is a slap in the face to customers' trust, especially our seniors. If you've ever eaten out, ever trusted a familiar name, don't skip this video, because what you're swallowing might just be contempt disguised as a steaming hot meal. Number 1, Applebees. Applebees used to be a go-to spot for older Americans, a place to celebrate birthdays, gather with family, or just enjoy a quiet weekend dinner close to home. It branded itself as the neighborhood grill and bar, the friendly neighbor always ready to serve a warm meal. But behind that polished image, the truth is starting to seep out. Reheated food, declining quality, questionable hygiene, and disrespectful service are leaving loyal customers feeling betrayed. In May 2025, a health inspection in Lawrenceville, Georgia gave one Applebee's location a failing score of just 63 out of 100. Inspectors noted staff handling raw meat and then immediately touching ready-to-eat food without washing their hands. Dirty kitchen tools, fridges not meeting temperature standards, and repeat violations in the same categories revealed this wasn't a one-off slip-up. It was the symptom of a broken system putting customer health at serious risk. And it gets worse. Former employees have taken to Reddit and other platforms claiming most of the food is frozen microwaved or preheated before being served. One former line cook bluntly said, "If you know how to use a microwave, you can be a chef here." These stories aren't isolated, they echo across the board. Many describe Applebee's kitchens as little more than food assembly lines where ingredients arrive vacuum sealed from a central warehouse portioned and simply heated before landing on your plate. But it's not just the food service and overall customer experience are crumbling too. In one viral Reddit thread cited by Fox News, customers complained about dishes tasting like they'd been reheated multiple times. Some claimed their chicken salad was served raw. Others shared being met with attitude just for asking to replace their cutlery. For older diners who value courtesy and the feeling of being respected, these experiences cut deep. Then there's the price tag. The once popular all-you-can-eat. Boneless wings deal that used to be $9.99 now costs $15.99, with no noticeable improvement in quality. Customers say they feel like they're paying to be ignored, served reheated meals with cold service all wrapped in outdated marketing promises. Applebee's has also faced lawsuits over employee wages, accused of assigning non-tipped cleaning and prep duties, while still paying the lower-tipped wage. A class action settlement forced the chain to cough up significant compensation, exposing what many see as a corporate culture that prioritizes profits over people, both workers and diners alike. For seniors, Applebee's wasn't just a restaurant. It was a place of memories, trust, and comfort. But now what they're served feels more like industrial food, dressed up as a family meal with fake warmth replacing genuine care, and a service experience that feels unfamiliar inside a place that once felt like home. That friendly neighborhood slogan, it's starting to look like nothing more than chipped paint on the crumbling wall of trust. Number 2, Panera Bread. Panera Bread was once seen as the perfect stop for those seeking a healthier, faster, yet still wholesome meal. With handwritten chalkboard menus, warm wood interiors, and dishes that sounded clean, it earned the trust of countless Americans, especially older folks who wanted a break from chemicals, mystery meats, and the cold indifference of fast food chains. But bit by bit, and in the most bitter ways, that image is falling apart. The first shock came in a cup of lemonade. A drink called Charged Lemonade, marketed as a natural energy boost, turned out to contain more caffeine than a Red Bull and an espresso combined. At least 2 deaths and several hospitalizations have been linked to the drink. What outraged consumers, especially seniors, was the complete lack of clear warning. No one expected that a fruit drink from a so-called health cafe could push the heart into overdrive. Panera eventually pulled the item from their menu, but the damage to its reputation was already done. Then came another gut punch: child labor violations. In Florida, over 200 minors under the age of 16 were found working excessive hours at Panera locations far beyond what the law permits. For older Americans who remember fighting for basic labor rights, this wasn't just a legal breach, it was a moral betrayal. A brand that built itself on being human-centered and socially responsible was now exposed for exploiting underage workers to cut costs and boost profits. And quietly, another shift triggered deep resentment among Panera's most loyal customers. The chain stopped baking its own bread on site. Instead, they began serving pre-made frozen loaves sourced from third-party suppliers, simply reheated before serving. For many, especially the older generation, bread is more than food, it's culture. It's comfort. It's a sense of something real. The end of in-store baking felt like the final blow to an already shaky bond of trust. All of this, from a deadly drink to child labor and frozen bread, are not isolated mistakes. They are signs of a beloved brand spiraling into a trade-off of values for profit. And in that trade-off, older customers, those who valued warmth, consistency, and decency, have lost the most. Not just a breakfast spot, but a place where they once felt respected, cared for, and safe in a world that's growing colder by the day. Number 3, Bill Miller Barbecue. Bill Miller Barbecue, the long-standing barbecue chain from Texas, has recently found itself at the center of multiple high-profile lawsuits, all tied to something that seems harmless at first glance: the sauce. Not the recipe, not the flavor, but the fact that it's served at scalding temperatures without proper warnings, leading to serious injuries, including to children. One of the most disturbing incidents involved a 4-year-old boy who suffered second-degree burns after hot sauce spilled on him while dining with his grandfather. Just months earlier, a 19-year-old woman was awarded $2.8 million in damages after she was burned by sauce so hot it melted through her jeans. What's more troubling is that Bill Miller had already promised to address the issue with warning labels on menus and printed alerts on takeout bags. Yet within a year, similar incidents continued to occur. This isn't about one careless employee or one poorly trained store. Every lawsuit pointed to systemic flaws in how Bill Miller handles and serves its food. The sauce is often served too hot in flimsy containers without lids, and with little to no warning. Several victims reported they were never told the sauce could burn them within seconds of contact. In one case, when a victim requested surveillance footage to back up her claim, the restaurant refused to cooperate, raising even more questions about the chain's transparency during crises. For older customers, many of whom frequent Bill Miller for its comforting familiarity, quick service, and deep Texas roots, this string of events felt not just shocking, but deeply personal. To them, Bill Miller was where you'd bring your grandkids, order your favorite brisket plate, and enjoy a simple meal together, not a place where a tray of sauce could send a child to the ER. The whole situation is eerily reminiscent of the infamous hot coffee lawsuit against McDonald's nearly 30 years ago. An elderly woman, a seemingly routine moment, and consequences that lasted a lifetime. But what's even more unsettling is that Bill Miller, a beloved local name, let the same kind of preventable harm happen again and again without making real changes. With each new report, customer trust, especially among seniors, continues to erode. A meal is no longer a moment of comfort. It's a test of trust where even a side of barbecue sauce can feel like betrayal. In a world growing more indifferent by the day, people ask for something simple, a decent, safe meal that doesn't gamble with their health or their faith in a brand. Right now, Bill Miller just isn't delivering that. Number 4, Red Lobster. For many older Americans, Red Lobster was once one of the most reliable places to enjoy seafood. You didn't need to live near the coast or spend hundreds at a high-end restaurant. You could simply order a plate of steamed shrimp, a warm bowl of clam chowder, or those buttery, garlicky Cheddar Bay biscuits, and feel like you were treating yourself. For countless people, Red Lobster was where they celebrated anniversaries, their grandkids' birthdays, or just enjoyed a quiet Sunday afternoon after church. It offered just the right touch of elegance, familiar flavors, and a moment of kindness in an increasingly impersonal world. But now the very chain that once felt safe and familiar is crumbling from the inside out. When Red Lobster filed for bankruptcy in 2024, it wasn't just a financial headline, it was a sign that the entire model was collapsing. Locations began closing across the country, workers were laid off, costs were slashed at every level, and the result was a dramatic decline in food quality. Customers began noticing that shrimp, crab, and fish arrived lukewarm, bland, and sloppily plated. Some paid nearly $40 for a dry, flavorless lobster roll that looked nothing like the menu photo. The highly anticipated Mariner's Boil, meant to revive the brand, was widely slammed as overpriced, underwhelming, and nothing like advertised. For older guests especially, this felt like a betrayal. They weren't looking for flash or flair, just a meal that delivered on its promise. And it wasn't just the food. Behind the scenes, Red Lobster's operational choices raised red flags. The decision to rely on a single large shrimp supplier brought ingredient quality into question. Financial moves like selling off property and leasing it back while pushing more pressure onto restaurant operations left the entire system fragile, cutting corners on everything from staff training to quality control. Worse still, longtime customers, many of them seniors, began to feel they were no longer valued. No more warm greetings at the door, no more fresh out of the oven bread, no more sense of this place is for me. All that remained were frozen meals, rushed service, and rising prices. Red Lobster was once a symbol of simple comfort in a hectic world. But now it's not just losing its position, it's losing the very people who built its reputation, loyal diners who believed they'd found a place that respected them. And when that trust breaks, it's not just about a disappointing meal, it's about watching a cherished memory fade away with it. Number 5. Cracker Barrel. The once savory plates of roast meat and warm cornbread no longer carry the flavor they used to. The comfort food that made Cracker Barrel a household name is now being criticized by older diners as bland, lukewarm, and even cheap tasting. Some lament that the once juicy, smoky bacon is now dry and rubbery, like it was hastily defrosted. One customer recalled digging into a slice of apple pie warm on the first bite, but by the third spoonful, it was as cold as if it came straight from the fridge. To them, this wasn't just a bad meal. It was the collapse of a memory, a betrayal of the warmth and trust they once felt toward a beloved brand. But the problem goes far beyond the kitchen. Cracker Barrel is also being called out for its increasingly cold and careless service, especially towards seniors, the very group that once formed the backbone of its customer base. The familiar greetings, the genuine smiles, the small courtesies that used to define the experience have quietly disappeared. Young, undertrained staff come and go so frequently that dining there now feels mechanical and emotionless. Some older guests even shared that asking for help made them feel like a burden rather than being treated with the respect they once knew. Cleanliness, too, has taken a hit. Greasy tables, restrooms without toilet paper, sticky floors left unattended, these may seem like minor oversights, but to a generation that gauges a place's decency through small details, they speak volumes. For those raised to see tidiness and order as signs of respect, these lapses feel like a slap in the face. Cracker Barrel hasn't escaped legal trouble either. One of the most shocking incidents occurred when an elderly man was served a glass of cleaning solution mistakenly poured into a drink pitcher by staff. Though the company paid nearly $10 million in damages, the image of a grandfather being hospitalized after lunch at a place he trusted most shook the public, especially older Americans. It became a painful symbol of how far things had spiraled, a place where even basic safety was compromised by carelessness. Under pressure from investors to modernize Cracker Barrel, has begun stripping away the nostalgic decor, experimenting with trendier menus, and launching locations that look more like modern fast casual restaurants. But they've missed the point. Cracker Barrel wasn't built on trends. It thrived on memory, on the feeling of coming home, on emotional connection, something no marketing campaign can replicate. For younger folks, maybe it's just another pit stop. But for those over 55, Cracker Barrel was a sanctuary of simpler times, a place to remember, to reconnect, to relive a quieter world. When that vanishes, what's lost isn't just a restaurant, it's a piece of American soul. And the saddest part is, they'll never be able to find that feeling again. Number 6, Golden Corral. Not everyone's looking for a gourmet meal. For many Americans, all they want is a well-done plate of meat, a warm piece of cornbread, a free refill, and a place where no one rushes them out the door. That's why Golden Corral was once considered a buffet paradise, just enough comfort, just enough friendliness. Nothing fancy, but never cold or corporate either. But that image is quietly collapsing, not because the food has changed, but because the heart of the operation, the kitchen itself, has been allowed to fall apart. Golden Corral has faced repeated food safety scandals over the years. In 2003, dozens of customers were infected with salmonella after eating at a location in Georgia. Bacteria were even found in the floor drains, suggesting contamination ran deeper than dirty counters. Then, in 2012, more than 370 people were sickened by norovirus at a Wyoming location, including staff. Reports revealed that sick employees were allowed to keep working with no quarantine or proper protocol in place. These weren't rare accidents, they were symptoms of a system rotting from within. A leaked video from a Florida Golden Corral once shocked the internet. Trays of food stored by the dumpster uncovered sitting next to waste containers, food that was later served to customers. The company called it a temporary storage area, but to consumers, that footage shattered any sense of safety. To older guests, Golden Corral used to symbolize choice and dignity. Hearty eaters could load up while others on dietary restrictions could pick and choose. But now, even a simple salad could be a source of illness if left on a tray that hasn't been wiped down. A scoop of ice cream could bring stomach pain if the handle was just sneezed on by another guest. The cruelest part. Those who believed in this humble buffet model are the very ones most vulnerable. Seniors came here because it felt affordable, unpretentious, and no one rushed them to leave. But behind the welcoming idea of serve yourself corners were cut quietly. From food safety checks to sick leave policies for staff, so much has been chipped away. And when those things go ignored, the consequences aren't just in quarterly earnings, they're in stomachs' immune systems and the already fragile health of aging diners. Golden Corral is still open, still crowded. But for those who once placed their trust in it, walking up to the buffet line no longer feels like a moment of comfort. It feels like a quiet gamble with their health and their trust. And no one should end up in the hospital from what was supposed to be a relaxed weekend dinner, all because of a carelessly handled tray of food. Number 7, Chick-fil-A. Do you remember the last time you bit into a hot, crispy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A and felt that pure satisfaction, that classic American flavor done right? The crunchy breading, the tender meat that never felt dry, the sauce that was just flavorful enough without overpowering anything. And then one day they changed the chicken. It wasn't the same trusted bird anymore, not antibiotic-free, not humanely raised, not free from growth-pushing practices. Instead, they quietly rolled out a half-measure policy. Chicken treated with antibiotics was now allowed, as long as those antibiotics weren't used in humans. For older Americans, folks who've lived frugally, eaten carefully, and watched every label their whole lives, that wasn't just a supply change. It was a break in the bond of trust. That's when people started noticing. Were the warm greetings still genuine? One video posted by a Chick-fil-A employee showed a simple post-shift meal, neat, wholesome, and real. It was quickly taken down. Not because it was inappropriate, but because it revealed too much. In this polished, tightly managed brand world, the only things allowed to be seen are the things pre-approved. Real life with its greasy chicken, slightly messy salad, or a spilled sauce packet is now a threat to the image. Even delivery, once a lifeline for older customers living alone, isn't simple anymore. An extra $1 for a bag, another $1 for a cup holder. Every tiny convenience now comes with a price tag. One woman ordered for her elderly father in a rural town and was surprised by a list of odd fees. It wasn't about the money, it was the realization that serving from the heart now has a price list. They say a brand lives on how it feels, not just what it serves. And maybe that's true, because that feeling of being welcomed, respected, handed a meal like it mattered is starting to fade. And for those who once chose Chick-fil-A over some nameless fast food joint, that loss is no small thing. Sure, the chicken sandwich might still taste good, but when people no longer feel they're being treated the same, that flavor alone isn't enough to keep them coming back. Sometimes, what keeps people loyal isn't the food, it's the feeling that, in a fast-changing America, there's still one place that makes them feel seen, valued, and cared for. Number 8, TGI Fridays. Beneath the soft yellow glow of neon lights and the hum of background rock music, many older Americans once turned to TGI Fridays as their weekend escape, a small getaway that didn't break the bank, but still delivered that Friday feeling of comfort and lighthearted fun. But lately, that familiar refuge is revealing cracks that many didn't see coming. Financial troubles have hit hard, dozens of locations have shut down abruptly, and the chain has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy to restructure its finances. For older patrons, the sense of loss runs deeper than missed meals. This wasn't just a restaurant, it was part of their routine, their rhythm. To see it vanish without notice felt like being blindsided by a trusted friend. Beyond the economic collapse, food safety has become a growing concern. Several locations have received poor health inspection scores, employees washing hands in cold water, unsanitary prep areas, and improper food storage practices. What might seem like minor infractions to some are red flags to older diners who are far more vulnerable to foodborne illnesses, and always pay closer attention to these details. And it doesn't stop there. Workers' rights within the chain have also come under scrutiny. TGI Fridays has paid out tens of millions of dollars to settle class action lawsuits over unpaid overtime and requiring staff to perform uncompensated duties like cleaning and post-shift setups. The very people responsible for guests' experience were being mistreated, and that inevitably spills over into service quality. One scandal that particularly struck a nerve was the accusation that certain locations were serving low-quality alcohol while charging premium prices. To older patrons, this wasn't just financial dishonesty, it was a deep lack of respect. They didn't come looking for glamour, they came expecting to be treated fairly. And when sincerity is replaced by sleight of hand, that connection is quickly broken. Worse still, many closures happened without warning. Entire teams of employees and loyal customers were left facing locked doors, no goodbye, no explanation. That kind of exit doesn't just feel cold. It leaves scars, especially for those who had built memories there. For the senior community, TGI Fridays used to represent a reliable space to relax at the end of the week. They came seeking stability, decency, and a welcoming atmosphere. But today, what they're met with is questionable food declining service and corporate behavior that disregards both workers and guests alike. The Fun Friday brand now feels more like a tired punchline. And the greatest loss, it isn't the food, it isn't even the closed locations. It's the loss of peace of mind, the feeling of being welcomed and treated with dignity. For older Americans, once that trust is broken, it's not easily restored. And when the image of something for every generation fades away, all that remains of TGI Fridays is an echo of a simpler, kinder past. Number 9, Ruby Tuesday. Some places aren't about exceptional food, they're about familiar comfort. A regular table in the corner, warm yellow lighting that calms the senses, and that iconic salad bar where you could choose whatever you wanted, just like in your younger days. For many older Americans, that's why they kept coming back not to dine out, but to hold on to a small, decent routine in a world that keeps changing. But that routine is quietly being broken. Not because customers have changed, but because the place that once welcomed them has stopped keeping its promises. Ruby Tuesday has shuttered hundreds of locations in recent years, and the most heartbreaking part, no goodbye. One day you show up, and the doors are locked. The sign is still there, but the lights are off. No notice, no thank you, just silence. People who once met there every week now stand outside staring into the dark. For seniors, that kind of disappearance isn't just a logistical surprise, it's an emotional blow. They didn't just eat there, they belonged there. When a restaurant vanishes without a word, it sends a message about how little relationships are valued and how disposable memories have become. Even at the locations that remain, Ruby Tuesday is no longer what it was. The beloved salad bar gone, the cozy decor replaced. The menu has been trimmed down. Staff is fewer and always changing. What once made the place unique has been stripped down in the name of cost efficiency. One customer said they waited 45 minutes before anyone even came to offer water. Another ordered a salad only to discover at home that it was nothing but wilted greens. And behind the scenes, things aren't much better. Employees report cut hours, poor training, and being asked to juggle 2 or 3 roles at once. When one young worker is expected to cook, serve, and clean all at the same time, it's impossible for that meal delivered to an elderly diner to feel like a well-cared-for experience. What stings the most? When Ruby Tuesday began rebranding, it set its sights on a younger generation. New logo, trendy colors, louder music, different lighting, everything designed to seem vibrant. But in trying to reinvent itself, Ruby Tuesday left behind its most loyal guest people who didn't need flash. They just wanted familiarity, peace, a place that felt like theirs. Some things can't be optimized with data, attachment, memory, the feeling of being valued. These are the things Ruby Tuesday once offered and is now losing piece by piece. For older Americans, losing a place like that isn't just about where to eat. It's about losing a part of their own timeline, a quiet piece of their personal history that now has no place to be remembered. Number 10, the Cheesecake Factory. There was a time when a plate at the Cheesecake Factory felt like a treat, generous portions beautifully plated with flavors that felt worth the price. But that balance has started to slip. The once affordable specialty pasta now hovers near $30 up from under $20 just a few years ago, and many diners say the quality hasn't kept up. Signature dishes like chicken Madeira or shrimp scampi now arrive with less protein, watered-down sauces and salmon that feels flimsy, not firm. When prices go up but satisfaction doesn't, the experience begins to feel unfair. Even the legendary cheesecake, the icon of the brand, isn't what it used to be. What was once handcrafted with care now shows signs of mass production. The crust has lost its crispness. The filling feels watery or unnaturally heavy with an artificial aftertaste. One customer even described getting teary-eyed not from nostalgia, but from the disappointment of a dense, overly sweet slice that tasted nothing like the cheesecakes of old. For older guests who often savor dessert slowly after a meal, this shift feels deeply personal. The dining atmosphere has changed too. Instead of being seated by a sunlit window with quiet ambiance, customers are now often placed in cold gray sections with looping audio ads and digital clutter. The once inviting space now resembles a dressed-up fast food joint order pings from phone staff moving briskly and a noticeably stripped-down aesthetic. Long wait times have also become a serious issue. lines stretching over 90 minutes during peak hours, followed by lengthy delays for food leave, older patrons feeling exhausted and on edge. What was supposed to be a relaxing dinner often ends up being a stressful evening, one that simply isn't worth the effort. Beyond the food and service, the brand has left older patrons feeling left behind. Discounts that once felt like thoughtful gestures, birthday cake deals, senior vouchers have quietly disappeared or become hard to claim. For many, those small perks weren't just about saving money, they were symbols of care. Now they're just fading memories. In the end, the brand's cheerful slogan, "Eat cake first," starts to sound bittersweet. Because if the service falters, if the meal no longer lives up to expectations, what joy is there in cake? Seniors aren't asking for much. They just want to be treated kindly, to be served something familiar in a place that feels like it still remembers them. The Cheesecake Factory, once the perfect place for a celebratory dinner, now stands on the edge of losing that simple feeling. So where can older Americans still turn for a meal they can trust, when once reliable restaurant chains begin revealing cracks through corner-cutting food safety concerns, or a disregard for loyalty? How can we sit down to eat without second-guessing what's on our plate? This video isn't here to promote division or call for a boycott. It was created to explore, to reflect, and to spark conversation around real events, genuine emotions, and social trends we're seeing today. We respect all legal standards and aim to represent the truth as clearly as possible. If you've had a similar experience, we encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this content meaningful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next analysis, where we explore the stories traditional media often leave behind.